Thank you very much, Mayor Burris. It's a pleasure to be here. Glad that you all came out. Good to see you. Folks from Missouri, Mississippi, Tennessee, Nashville. Great to see you. We're going to talk a little bit about the blue whale. Do you know what is the largest mammal on Earth? Yes. It is the blue whale. 108 feet long, about 10 stories. Weighs about 150 tons, equivalent to a herd of 30 elephants. Just this ton alone is the weight of one adult elephant. The heart is the size of my car outside. Gives birth to a 3-ton calf, about 23 feet to 27 feet long. And at least one of the blue whale's blood vessels is so large that even a child can crawl inside it. And the blue whale lives for about 110 years. Now, what does a blue whale have to do with landfill crisis? This. It took 20 years for Australians to catch just one fascinating scene. A blue whale hoisting its newborn baby to the surface of the water to draw its first breath. Now, before that, that whale was just lifeless, that little baby. Once it got its first breath, it was zipping all around that ocean. He loved getting that picture. And that blue whale guided and led and protected this baby till it got to the feeding grounds. So I thought to myself, what can we learn from the blue whale? If a blue whale can look out for its next generation, then why can't we, as the most intelligent creatures on Earth, do the same? Look out for our next generation. We need to. Why? Because, like it or not, our landfills are in crisis. Now, what is a crisis? A crisis is a condition of instability and danger leading to a decisive change. Now, why is there a crisis? Well, the United States has 3,091 active landfills. Now, over 10,000 old municipality landfills, so the EPA reports, 82% of it surveyed, landfill cells has leaks, while 41% had a leak area more than 1 square foot, according to Leak Location Services, Inc. Now, why the leakage? Why the leaching? Because landfill liners that protect and hold all this stuff in are just 1/10 of an inch thick. 1/10 of an inch thick. All landfills could require some remediation, basically some fixing. But particularly landfills built in the last 60 years need a thorough cleanup. 60 years ago, it was a good idea, but now it's very old. And back there, as you know, chemicals and so forth that were manufactured or sold in the 40s were hardly environmentally friendly. They didn't know how to spell the word green. And so, where are we today? How much inconvenience are we willing to tolerate to see some relief from this mounting garbage problem? Now, Americans alone toss into their garbage cans an estimated 4.3 million disposable pens and 5.4 million disposable razors on an average day. We are a throwaway society. Now, not likely that we're going to step back a half century to time before the age of plastics and high-tech disposables, even though the price we pay for these inconveniences, rather these conveniences, are staggering. For example, just take this one item, disposable diapers. More than 16 billion diapers containing an estimated 2 million tons of excrement and urine are dumped each year to a dwindling number of landfills around the nation, reported the New York Times. Are parents willing to tolerate the inconveniences of laundering their babies' diapers? To many, a world without disposable diapers is unthinkable. What is worse, the United States News and World Report says every plastic diaper made since they were first introduced in 1961 is still here. They take about 500 years, half a millennium, to break down. What about paper? Contrary to conventional wisdom, the 350 million pounds of paper thrown out each day by Americans and an unknown tonnage worldwide does not break down and disappear in landfills. Newspapers unearthed in landfills after being buried for over 35 years were just as real on the day that they were published. Those statistics are 20 years old. Now what about today? Some of the byproducts of landfills are garbage tea, they call it. Does that sound like a nice concoction? Would you like to have some of that liquid garbage tea? And methane gas. Now, methane gas can burn and or explode. Liquid byproducts can also be dangerous as they have the potential to contaminate groundwater, animals, and wastewater collection sites. Take, for example, this recent case in Florence, Alabama. This is from the newspaper. Landfill plaintiffs want to prevent further acts of negligence by the city. Residents living near a closed landfill in West Florence have filed a motion against the judge, asking the judge to force the city to take steps preventing further damage to their property, based on court documents found Friday, this back in October this year. The residents won a lawsuit in September that accused the city of not properly closing the landfill in 1988, which allowed methane gas to escape. They said the methane has reduced the value of their properties. Florence attorney Robert Guns, who represents the plaintiffs, filed a motion asking the judge to restrain the city from committing further acts of negligence, nuisance, or trespass against their property. The landfill was operated from 1972 to 1988, so they had 12 plaintiffs. And attorneys for the city argued during the 4-day trial, and things went on and on, but methane is a colorless, odorless, flammable gas that can explode, is the bottom line. A jury of 6 men and 6 women deliberated about 6 hours before ruling in favor of the plaintiffs and ordering the city to pay them $500 to $31,300 each. The total award by the jury was $125,000. The plaintiffs had sought $55,000 to $114,000, so they really gave them even more than they were looking for. It requires the city now to continue monitoring for methane gas on the plaintiff's property and in their homes for the next 20 years. And that's just one example. So are there any solutions to this crisis, which is why we're here? Now, it's been written that there are only 4 ways to deal with garbage. Bury it, burn it, recycle it, or don't make as much of it in the first place. Now, there's been composting, which is catching on more and more, which is a very key alternative. Some controlled burning. But as a member of the Lexicon team and a member of Solid Waste Advisory Committee, which I see some of my colleagues here from Tennessee, state of Tennessee, what's near and dear to our hearts is recycling. Did you know that 55% of all garbage is stored in landfills? 14% is burned, 31% is recycled. The EPA recommends recycling to save natural resources, protect the environment, decrease the need for landfills. But here's an interesting statistic. It is estimated that more than 75% of municipal solid waste in the United States is recyclable. Think about that, 75%. So what does it take to get your city or your business going? Well, what do all these mayors here have in common that have just spoken before you? You know what they've got? They've got a positive attitude. And that is a must to be successful at landfill diversion by means of recycling. It is a must to have a positive attitude. It is a must to have a coach who actually takes the lead and sees it through. If you don't have someone at the helm who's positive, has that can-do attitude, it ain't gonna happen. Positivity. Here's an example. There once was a woman who woke up one morning and looked in the mirror. She noticed that she had only 3 hairs already. Well, she said, I think I'll braid my hair today. So she did, had a wonderful day. The next day she woke up, looked in the mirror, saw she had only 2 hairs already. She said, I think I'll part my hair down the middle today. So she did, had a grand day. The next day she woke up, looked in the mirror, noticed she had only 1 hair on her head. She said, well, today I'm going to wear my hair in a ponytail. So she did, had a fun day. The next day she woke up, looked in the mirror, noticed there wasn't a single hair on her head. Yay, she explained, I don't have to fix my hair today. That is a positive attitude. Now these mayors, these mayors have good head of hair, unlike me, so they don't have to worry about that. But you see, that's what they have in common, is that positive attitude. Now, what are some examples? We've already had discussed for us here, which was very nicely done. Mayor Barris, 1 year, mentioned that 1 year, 26% reduction. If you go out from the city hall, you'll see our, which is probably going to be discussed, our Green Reward program. Up to 5 is the top of that. They've already got 2. facilities going to look like. So now we also have some other businesses. For example, when we first began, Sydney and Bruce Bledsoe, they brought me on to develop and build this Doxicon brand just 3 years ago. The manufacturing industrial group in Lexington was our first customer, and we only had one piece of business. And now we have 20 businesses, two municipalities and more, as we see sitting here in the room, that will become, I'm sure. But now let me just give you an idea what happens when you take stuff out of the landfill. What happens to it? Where does it go? Manufacturing industrial group, just to give you an example, we pick up their scrap metals, and that is 8,064,000 pounds, 3,600 tons in the past 3 years that we've taken out of the landfill and have recycled. 8 million pounds. Where does it go? Bushland, which the metal, the scrap yards love, with 3-foot slices of metal, stamped material, melted into large coils that you see loaded on trucks one at a time. They weigh 45,000 pounds each. Manufacturers buy the coils and stamp products like automated or other automobile needs. Tubing manufacturers as well as appliance manufacturers use the same steel. The quality is good and it can be formed easily. We also have miscellaneous shred and heavy melt steel. That's melted into rebar, which are concrete rods, or into structural steel items like beams, anchor, or channels. Steel never wears out and can be recycled forever. This country is currently recycling 85% of all available steel, and much of it happens right here in the Southeast. Now, YT, I've touched on, we have their plant in Lexington as well as in Jackson. They do conventional recycling with us, but they have a lot of scrap wood. And that was like 80% of the landfill, 60% of the landfill cost. We found a solution for that, to make a long story short. And as a result, we moved out 300 roll-offs, 1,500 tons, 3 million pounds of wood in just 1 year. Where does it, by the way, reduce the landfill by 6%, 80% and the landfill cost by 60%. And they pass those savings on to healthcare for the employees. We're very, very happy about that story. But where does it go? Well, it goes to a grinder. What's the grinder do? He mulches it. And there you go. Recycling begins. Cardboard, or OCC as we call it, corrugated cardboard. Paper, newsprint. We move about 100 tons of that a month, 1,200 tons a year, 2,400,000 pounds. Where does it go? Cardboard, OCC goes to linerboard or medium rolls. These rolls are shipped to container plants where they're combined into producing new corrugated boxes. Newsprint goes to newsprint mills where they produce brand new newsprint rolls, which go to paper mills for the newspapers. And standard office paper goes to tissue mills. Paper towels, paper tissues, etc. And what about plastic, number 1s, like those clear bottles they drink, the soda bottles, and colored bottles, number 2. What happens to them? Or HDPE, which is hard plastic, high density polyethylene, or low density polyethylene shrink wrap. Where does it go? Processed materials down to regrind, and regrind it into the form. Then process the material to another step and sell them out to manufacturers and other packaging manufacturers. Number 2, material gets reprocessed, used for filler stocks and other types of products such as pallets, bottle caps, and packaging. You get the point. See, out of the landfill, recycle. 75% of what goes in the garbage can be recycled. It takes positive leadership, it takes a positive team. So as we go back to that blue whale, remember that blue whale in the lesson